Hello all you lovely cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic and today we're going to be taking a preview look at Oriental Empires, the new indie 4X strategy game coming from Shining Pixel Studios. Oriental Empires takes place in ancient China where you control a faction and you seek to unify China under your rule. At first I have to say that I thought this was like a Total War game clone because I looked on the Steam's page, saw the screenshots and it looks like a Total War game, and when you actually get into the game it is nothing of the sort. This is in fact more akin to a Civilization clone, and I say Civilization clone not meaning to mean it in a negative way. Oriental Empires is a fairly feature complete early access game currently. It has a full single player grand campaign, and the only reason that they are in early access currently is for the implementation of multiplayer as well as bug fixes. So once you've chosen one of the several factions available to you, you head into the game and you essentially start with a capital city, a group of settlers and a military general unit. From there your early goals are fairly simple in that you need to expand your empire, build new towns, build roads, build farmland, and it works very much similar to a Civilization game in that way. What's interesting, however, and the most distinct part and the distinct departure from other 4X games is Oriental Empire's technology trees. So in most 4X games you tend to have a single tech tree where you research one technology at a time and so on and so forth until you get them all, or you can get as much as you can. This game, however, features 4 distinct technology trees in which you can research one item of each tree at the same time. So you can essentially research 4 technologies at one go, which is a lot of fun, and I quite like that. And I even like the fact that some technologies cross over trees, so you may be wanting to focus something on the power tree, which is essentially a military tree, but for example horse domestication is found on 2 different trees because it's not only for military but it's also agricultural, so you could be able to either research that on 2 different trees and it gives you access to different things on each tree. And that was something that was a lot of fun. It allowed the progression of the technology to feel a little bit faster than some other games, and it also allows you to keep up in terms of your cultural, economic and military technology. It allows you to advance at all the same rate rather than having to focus on military for like 20 turns and then go back, start again at the very top of cultural. And that was a really nice touch, and I quite enjoyed that take on technology advancement. As with any Civilization style game, city management is also going to be very crucial to the overall feel of the game. Now, like in Total War, where you have rebel armies that spawn from unrest, you also have that here. So you have 2 meters for unrest, a noble meter and a peasantry meter, and if those meters get too high, not only will armies start spawning on the world map, but you'll also have the chance of basically losing an entire city to rebels, which can become somewhat troublesome. On top of the unrest, you also have to manage things like building facilities in your city, building farmland for food production, improving those existing facilities so that once you've researched a new technology you have to upgrade those. You also have to keep on top of your military production. You also have to keep on top of your economic production so that you don't have 2 military units, too much upkeep costs and that kind of thing. So you have to make sure that all these different aspects of your overall empire are in check to make sure that you can prosper. One of the biggest disappointing things about every 4X game I've ever played is of course the diplomacy aspect of each game, and some do it differently than others, but ultimately none of them do it very, very well. And Oriental Empires is no exception to that. Sadly, Oriental Empire's diplomacy system offers something akin to Total War, where it's a very, very basic system, and essentially there's no innovation, there's no real depth to it, and ultimately that causes it to lack any real enjoyment. And the negatives don't really stop there. Combat is a huge disappointment in Oriental Empires. At first I was really excited thinking that it was going to be something akin to Total War, and it is in fact akin to Civilization, so it's a very hands-off combat system. And there was a spark of hope in the fact that you're able to give units directions in terms of what tactics to use, what formation to use. However, the problem came in the fact that sadly the game's AI is pretty terrible in terms of unit movement, and the pathfinding is pretty terrible. This actually leads to units running around the battlefield, running away from the enemy when they shouldn't be, walking into each other, not using the tactics. For example, I set a unit of chariots to essentially flank an enemy, and they didn't. They just ran circles around them and didn't do anything and didn't actually engage the enemy at all. Archers were a problem as well, so they didn't even fire or take part in any of the battles, and the AI was it is abysmal at this point, and I'm really hoping that the developers really put some time in between now and release so that they can really improve certain aspects of that AI. Apart from the combat and the diplomacy, I have to say for nearly every other part of Oriental Empires I really liked. Aesthetically, the game is absolutely gorgeous. I thought it was really nice, and yes, there are a couple of graphical hiccups here and there in the current early access build, but it's only the occasional tree having a little bit of a flicker. There's never anything game breaking in there, and I thought that some of the aesthetical choices that they made, including the visuals, the tiles that look like mahjong pieces, the overall soundtrack of the game, it oozed authenticity. It was really visually pleasing experience, and in terms of graphical fidelity, I thought that the game ran really well. Overall, for me, Oriental Empires is a really good indie 4X strategy game. I think that it executes what it wants to fairly well, barring the fact that the diplomacy system is pretty terrible, but again, that's something that's genre specific and genre wide rather than being specific to this game. Yes, the combat certainly needs a lot of improvement, and I would say that if you're someone who is looking for a Total War experience or for some kind of validation from the combat itself, then this game will not be for you. If, however, you're like me and you like a bit of comfort food in terms of 4X games, in the fact that you like to sit back, manage your empire, make sure you've got enough farmland, you are improving your cities, and all that kind of micromanagement stuff that most people find boring, then this will be a great experience for you. I really like the aesthetic, I really like the soundtrack. Some of the core design is really nice, especially the technological advancement trees that they have there. I thought that was a really nice touch in the game, and ultimately, if you're looking for something that is set in ancient China that's a 4X game, this will be for you. And for me, it's certainly preferable over the recent Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13 release. I thought that game was just terrible across the board, and this is not. It certainly has things wrong with it, but it does enough things right that it merits that it's probably worth your time depending on what you're looking for. And that is my preview of Oriental Empires. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the share button, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And as always, I will see you next time.